There has been a recent trend in spy thrillers to cast female spies as femme fatales or helpless victims. But one woman was both feared and respected by the men whose job it was to stop her. In the Cold War, every spy agency had its own secret weapon, an ace operative who could turn the tide of the conflict. And for the KGB, their most dangerous agent was none other than Markus Wolf, the most successful spy East Germany ever produced. Her story is one of daring missions, double crosses, and incredible escapes that have made her a legend in the world of espionage. So let's dive in and uncover the secrets of this remarkable woman. Born in 1928 in Berlin, Margot Honecker was just a child when her parents divorced and she moved with her father to East Germany. She grew up immersed in communist ideology and developed a deep hatred for the West. After graduating from university, she joined the Socialist Unity Party and soon caught the attention of the Stasi, the East German secret police. With her striking looks, charm, and intelligence, Wolf was the perfect candidate for a career in espionage. In 1951, she was recruited by the Stasi and began training as a spy. Wolf's first mission was to infiltrate a West German newspaper and provide the Stasi with intelligence on anti-communist activities. She quickly rose through the ranks of the Stasi and became one of the organization's most valuable assets. By the end of the 50s, she was working directly for the KGB and had become one of the most wanted women in the West. But how did she manage to evade capture? Wolf's greatest strength was her ability to remain hidden in plain sight. She lived in a small apartment in East Berlin and worked as a secretary, which provided her with the perfect cover. Nobody suspected that she was a high-ranking KGB agent. This allowed her to move freely between East and West Germany, where she had many contacts in the West German government and military. One of Wolf's most daring missions was Operation Sonnenwende, which took place in 1961. At the time, the Berlin Wall had just been constructed and tensions were high between the Allies. Wolf was tasked with infiltrating a group of West German journalists and feeding them false information about the construction of the wall. She posed as a sympathetic East German woman who was unhappy with the construction of the wall, but was careful to only share fake information with her handlers. She managed to stay hidden for months before being caught, which gave the KGB valuable insight into the way the West German media operated. But Wolf wasn't just a master of disguise, she was also a skilled manipulator and spy. One of her most famous missions involved the capture of Klaus Fuchs, a West German colonel who defected to East Germany in 1964. Wolf was tasked with recruiting Fuchs as a spy, but she had to be careful. He was a high-ranking officer and his defection was a major event. If the West found out that she was behind his defection, she would be in big trouble. She totally used her charm and smarts to get Fuchs to switch sides. She told him that she was a member of the Stasi and that she had information that would be valuable to the East. Fuchs was skeptical at first, but eventually agreed to meet with her. Wolf then led Fuchs to a waiting car and delivered him to the Stasi. For this daring mission, she was awarded the Order of the Red Banner of Labor, one of East Germany's highest honors. Over the years, Wolf became known as the Lady in Red after the red dresses she used to wear while working undercover. She had an apartment in East Berlin where she would meet with her lovers, often high-ranking members of the West German government and military. Through these relationships, she was able to gather valuable intelligence on the West, but she was careful to keep her personal life separate from her work. Even her closest lovers didn't know that she was a spy. One of Wolf's most famous lovers was Werner von Hagens, a West German journalist who became one of the most important sources of intelligence for the KGB. Wolf met von Hagens at a party in West Berlin, and they quickly began an affair. She was careful to keep their relationship professional during their meetings, but they soon began to develop real feelings for each other. However, Wolf never let her guard down completely and always kept secrets from von Hagens. In fact, she even had a safe in her apartment where she kept her KGB files. Von Hagens became suspicious of Wolf's activities and eventually broke into her apartment to search for answers. He found the safe but couldn't open it, and when he confronted Wolf about it, she denied everything. The two eventually broke up and von Hagens became one of the few people who knew the truth about Wolf. In the 1970s, Wolf's luck ran out. She was caught and brought to West Germany to face trial for her crimes. But the trial was a sham and she was quickly convicted and sentenced to 6 years in prison. However, she was released after serving only 4 years when the two Germanys decided to normalize relations. Upon her release, she was immediately recruited by the newly established Federal Intelligence Service and became one of the most important figures in the organization. After reunification, Wolf's past finally caught up with her. She was arrested and charged with treason, but the case against her was weak and she was acquitted. In 1994, she died of cancer at the age of 66. Margot Honecker was a true legend of the Cold War era, a woman who was both feared and respected by the men whose job it was to stop her. She was a master of disguise and manipulation, and her daring missions behind enemy lines helped to shape the course of the conflict. But she was more than just a spy. She was a symbol of the power of women in a male-dominated world. She proved that women can excel in any field and that they don't need a man's help to succeed. In a time when women were expected to stay at home and take care of the children, Wolf was out in the world, risking her life to gather intelligence for her country. She was a trailblazer for women in the world of espionage, and her legacy continues to inspire today. I think what makes Wolf such a compelling figure is her complexity. She was a master spy, yes, but she was also a human being with hopes, dreams, and fears. She was a woman who loved deeply and was capable of great compassion, but she was also ruthless when it came to protecting her country and her way of life. Wolf was not a perfect person, but she was a real one, and that's what made her so relatable. Despite her flaws, she was a hero to many, a woman who put everything on the line to defend her beliefs. The legacy of Markus Wolf lives on in the hearts and minds of those who knew her and in the history books that tell the story of the Cold War. She was a woman who defied the odds and made the impossible possible. And she will never be forgotten. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos like this. Thanks for watching.